Hello again, whiskey friends. Welcome back. We are doing something a little bit different in 2026. So, I wanted to start off one of the first videos that I did talking about something that I know most of you might be interested in, and that is going to be what bottles are going to be sitting on the shelves in 2026. So, let's get into it and kick off the show. Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. If you are new here, please hit the like and subscribe and help us out. Leave a comment down below on what you guys think about this list, as well as some of the things you might be seeing sitting on your shelves in 2026. So, 2025 was kind of a weird year. I know we talked a little bit about that in a previous video, but also I feel like this next year or two is going to be pretty interesting for the bourbon market and for those that are bourbon nerds like ourselves that enjoy tasting all kinds of great whiskey. But at the same time, I feel like there's some things that are going to be changing. So let's jump into this. So I went to my local store, my brick and mortar that I frequent all the time, and I went around and I looked and I thought about what bottles are sitting now that used to not sit at all or that we never even saw previously in the last couple of years. So we'll start with one that I know was kind of a bummer for me after the second release, and that's from our friends over at Barton. And it's one of those that you just never really hit me right. Thomas S. More. Now, this was their finishing cask series, and the first releases were okay. Those were priced about $90, I think. And then the second batch came out, and it was like over $100. And the finishes on the first ones weren't really that great. They were okay. And now these are sitting on my shelf in my brick and mortar on sale for $44.95. Now, I know that that's like half price or way under retail. So it's pretty obviously that this brand is not doing well. And I don't foresee that changing, even if they continue this line from Sazerac and Barton. So we'll see what happens. But that's one of the first ones that I noticed that was super different for this particular one. The next one is going to be Blade and Bold. Now, I never really saw this particular bottle a lot at all like 4 years ago. I heard a lot about it. Another product. As you can see, the price is $48. Price isn't bad, but the whiskey's just okay. These have been sitting like this for almost 9 months. So it tells me that, these bottles that are supposed to be collectible things with the keys and all this other stuff and the horsies and all that other things are really going to be able to, you're going to see a lot more of that stuff sitting around. The price point, like I said, isn't bad, but at the same time, it's not great. This one is one that surprised me over the last year. Smoke Wagon. Aaron's done a great job of creating this brand, but I felt like in the last year and a half, they've really struggled to move the same volume of product that they were moving. When this thing came out 3, 4, 5 years ago in Arkansas, excuse me, man, these things would not stay on the shelves. I mean, every time that they'd fill up, they were gone. The fact that you've got a private label pick sitting on the shelf was super interesting to me. These have been sitting there for about 7 months as well. As well as you can see, I think that's the new straight bourbon sitting along with the uncut and the private label. And then also along with that, you see the ryes have not moved at all, along with Angel's Envy. I thought that this one was pretty interesting because most people that I've talked to have not been the biggest fan of the rye. I prefer the malted rye out of all of those. I felt like the Blender Select was probably the worst product that they put out ever, but maybe that's not my palate. I just don't know. So that's one company that I felt like with MGP sourced distillate, as they grew and as they expanded so quick, I felt like the distillate got younger and younger and the depth of flavor got younger. And so it's been I'm sure, a very difficult process for him to keep up the kind of stocks that he wants to keep, as well as how much they were moving before. So let's move on to Mr. Jim Beam and Booker's. I never used to see Booker's sitting ever. Like they would show up, they were gone. And typically they would be like 1, 2 bottles. They were 4 different batches on this particular shelf, and they were 2 to 3 deep. The price points on these for a 6-year whiskey are right around 110 at my local. And for me, I'm not the biggest Beam fan, but some of these are so hit and miss that I stopped buying them because I just didn't want to spend the money on things that I didn't know if I was truly gonna like. That's a surprise to me. The next one is our friends over at Heaven Hill. Everybody's been talking about this for the last year, and that's the ECBP batches. This is A125, and this has been sitting there since last year. They still have a case underneath this one full and still have not been able to use it or move it. And then we're still seeing a very delayed response on getting the regular batches from last year. I don't even think we saw B or C until late last year. And so with a new Rise coming out, I wonder if this is going to set even more now. The next is Blood Oath. Now, this was the trilogy. I think this is 7, 8, and 9, and these are super uber expensive. I think what I picked this one for was Ellie's. I think you're going to see Ellie's sit. And I think unless they get a lot of hype from social influencers and reviewers, they're going to sit and sit. This has been sitting for almost a year as well. So it's interesting to me that, we've got these like this one and the one from Heaven's Door sitting. Again, they're really expensive. In my opinion, the juice is just not worth it. Now, this next brand surprised me a little bit. I'm surprised at how much this has been sitting in the last 6 to 7 months because they are a popular brand, and that is Penelope. Penelope's been putting out some really great estate single barrels, which I've really, really liked. And then they also, you see one that I stuck in there, which was the Cigar Blend, which was really good too, and their Project X, which is their finishing. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the finishing part of it. I think that, this next year, you're going to see a lot of finished whiskey sit a lot longer. I think the other ones that I saw sitting there a lot were from Peerless, and they're finishing the double oaked Rise. And I think you're going to see the new double oaked from Woodford set at almost $250. I think you're going to see that stuff sit. I think everybody is really looking for the most bang for their buck, as well as what Jeff is going to be talking about, which I feel like FOMO is gone. I know for us, 2025, we basically just focused on single barrel picks, not just because we were doing, but we just weren't chasing the things that we were a year previously. And if you guys feel the same way, make sure you guys are leaving the comments below. Now, this next one is a brand that I never really got into and never understood the hype behind, and that's Barrel. This stuff has been sitting for months and months and months. I just see so much of their stock, and I think that it's not that it's bad whiskey. I just think that they overdo their SKUs. I mean, everything on this looks the same. You can't tell what it's finished in because everything's very similar. There's just not a lot of clarity on what is in the bottle, as well as the price points. The price points on these were high. They were up and anywhere from 65 all the way up to over 100 for 6 and 7-year-old whiskey. And I just don't see them moving anymore. The next one that we're going to look at, I think, is on here is that I didn't get a picture of is Cigar Blend and the Joseph Magnus Murray Hill Club. These things have been sitting around for months and months. Cigar Blend has been one of those bottles that used to fly off the shelves anytime that you did it to drop. And over the last 2 years, the hype has really gone down. The prices have gone up, and they've been sitting. The ones that I saw were 300 batches, and they were covered in dust. Those things have been sitting for well over a year. And the other one from Heaven Hill is the Grain to Glass. So, guys, this is interesting to me. I feel like these are some of the brands that you're going to see sitting in 2026, as well as some of those LEs that everybody kind of sought after. You're going to see more of those come out, and I think you're going to have a better chance at grabbing some of those things that might seem interesting to you guys. So make sure that you guys hit the like and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think about this list. Tell me which ones that you think are sitting at your locals. And let's compile a list of what actually moves and what doesn't in 2026. Thanks as always for your support, and we'll look to see you back here next time here in the Whiskey Riff Lounge. Thanks so much.